Welcome, friends, fans, and bot heads, to another edition of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today we are indeed going back to Cybertron with two amazing actors from Transformers Generation 1 and beyond. So now is the time for all of you in our chat room to begin typing in your questions for them. Immediately after this session, you will have the opportunity to talk to them directly through our private chat options, as well as shop our selection of personalized autographs, all of which are available now at GalaxyCon.com. So without further ado, let's activate the space bridge and bring them out. Our first guest is an actor, comedian, and elder statesman of voice acting, whose incredibly diverse body of work includes Futurama, Dynomutt, The Super Friends, and of course, Scooby-Doo. Today, though, he joins us to discuss giving voice to the following G1 characters. First, the Autobots: Blades, Chrome Dome, Groove, Wheelie, Trailbreaker, Mirage, Superion of the Aerobots, and Dinobot Sludge. And of course, the following Decepticons: Skywarp, Constructicon Mixmaster, Rumble, Frenzy, Ravage, Soundwave, Galvatron, and of course, Megatron. Please welcome back Mr. Frank Welker.
Good morning. How are ya?
Good, Frank. How you been?
And good to see all of my Decepticon friends. Oh, there we go. There we go. Beautiful.
Yes, indeed. Frank, how have you been?
I've been great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So glad to have you back. And again, this is so much of your body of work that I would love to get into. Maybe we could do a one-on-one sometime, but I just had to throw this out real quick. You did some background voices on Raiders of the Lost Ark. What was that about?
Well, actually, I did the monkey in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Did you?
Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. And this little monkey, he had some dialogue that I had to sort of make it monkey and also throw some words in.
Yeah.
He's saying something, but you're not sure quite what it was. The one thing about it, though, that I remember is I had this wonderful death scene, and I, just as a typical ham actor, I was... And I went all over the place, and they thought it was just too cruel, so they cut it out of the movie. They thought it may be a little much for the youngsters. So you never got to see my wonderful acting death scene. But
wow, maybe there'll be yet another special edition. I do remember watching it for the first time in the theaters, and I remember a couple of little kids crying, "The monkey died!" And I remember one mother leaning over, but it was a bad monkey.
Yes, that's right. I was a bad monkey.
Frank, so glad to have you back. So good to see you again. Glad to see you here in good spirit and in good health.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And next, he is an actor whose amazing credits include Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, Winnie the Pooh, the voice of the Predator, and Dungeons and Dragons. Today, he joins us to discuss giving voice to the following G1 characters. First, the Decepticons: Nightstick, Slug Slinger, Wingspan, and now the Autobots: Protectobot Streetwise, Ironhide, and of course, Optimus Prime. Please welcome back Mr. Peter Cullen.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, we're great.
I'm still reeling from Frank's monkey. Of all the shows that we've run together, I tell you, it's a wonder that we ever got anything done because of the antics that go on during a recording session with this genius. He's just the king. He's the wonderful king.
Wow. Thank you for that, Peter. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, everyone. Peter, how have you been?
Wonderful, considering, and like everybody else, keeping a positive frame of mind, and knowing that things will pass and we'll be back to normal somewhat. Yep. And I'm very, very content to know that I know my house inside out now. There's not a corner of this house I don't know about. I'm even the attic. I love the attic. The attic. Want to go places? Go to the attic. I swear it's an adventure. Yeah.
Well, Peter, it's absolutely great to have you back again, and good to see you in good health and good spirit.
You too.
Thank you so much. And gentlemen, once again, welcome to the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Like Peter said, yes, I think as a society, we see the light at the end of the tunnel now. We're not there yet, but we see that light. We're heading towards it. And we're so looking forward to the day where we can once again host you on our physical stages and get you both back in front of your fans. But in the meantime, we have this online forum. Is so glad to have you back again. Our team is going to the chat room right now to pull out questions. In the meantime, we had a pretty good conversation about Megatron and Optimus last time. So I think I'd just like to throw this out. What was it like for your perspective, and how did you wrap your heads around doing multiple characters, especially multiple recurring characters on the same ongoing episode? Like case in point, Peter, one of my favorites as well. I'm a big Ironhide fan, and of course Frank, who did the voice of all the other Decepticons, really, but specifically, I mean, let's talk. But of course, this guy and everybody who came out of his chest, all that gang. So, how'd you wrap your heads around it? I mean, Peter, this must have been really challenging for you since Optimus was the main character, was in it for so much, and you gave him such a distinctive voice. How did you guys work your head around doing the other characters? And it's probably an obvious question, but I'll ask this too. Did you record them separately? Did you do like all of Ironhide's lines in one batch, or was it sequential? How did that work?
Frank, go for it.
Oh, well, when I did Ironhide, immediately they recast me and had Peter do it.
Oh, okay.
But, I think Peter will concur with this, but since we were doing multiple characters, which was great fun this show had a lot of characters, so a handful of us got to do many characters, which was always a fun treat and a little confusing, especially at first till you really got your characters locked into your mind. And Wally Burr, the director, and Scotty Brown, the sound editor, kept reference files for us. So a lot of times, at least in the early days, they would ask us, would you like to hear your reference? And of course, I go, yes, because, I had a few extra characters to do. So that was helpful. And once you heard it, it was easy to boom right back into it. And but when you're developing a character, the nuances come through time. So it is nice to hear back to the reference what initially you were doing, and then you just bounce right back off it. But I think Peter will agree too. We love doing multiple characters, and it's fun when you're doing your two main characters, like if it's Optimus Prime and Megatron, acting together.
Yeah,
that's the best. When you're in the room and Peter and I are going, it's like we're flying. It's so much fun, and it's kind of the same feeling when you're doing another character, and you get a chance to move into another skin. It's a lot of fun. So yeah. But we use reference for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely fair. So let's talk about your greatest collaboration. Mighty Mouse and Yuck, the world's ugliest dog. Mighty Man, I should say. No. Tell you what, no, thank you for that. Actually, we're good to go on our audience questions, so let's go ahead and jump right into it, because I know we got a lot lined up. Here's our first one from Dylan, and he wants to know, what do you love the most about Transformers?
Me?
Go ahead. Oh, that was an answer, not a question, right?
Well, going back to Generation 1, every show was an adventure because we had no idea where it was going, what it was all about, really. The characters hadn't really truly identified themselves. And the characters that were about to come into your life for some reason or another, you had no conception, because these are metal characters, and they don't give you a sense of a character or a personality because of their shape. As a car or as a truck or a van, you look at that, and I often think about what my brother said to me. He said, "Where are you going, Pete?" And I said, "I'm going to audition for a character." And he said, "What?" He says, "A truck." And he said, "A truck? What does a truck sound like?" I said, "I don't know." Anyway, a lot of these characters that came into my mind, if it weren't for watching a old movie on television the night before and being inspired by something and saying the next day and look at this character and oh, gee whiz, that's such and such from that 1940s movie I just saw. That's got to be him, whatever. And the voice would come out, luckily. And if it was accepted, hopefully, that's the way a lot of these characters came to me. With Frank, a different story. I mean, he's got a library of voices that nobody's heard of yet.
Well, my parole officer has heard most of them. I won't go in with that one, I swear. But, I think one of the great things about Transformers that I really loved was, I'm sure this is obvious, but the cast. We had such a great cast. And we touched on it earlier. We had so many characters to do that we were all on our toes all the time because, boy, you really had to keep up with it. But I think the action, the cast, and the characters just kept you on your toes, and I really love that about the Transformers.
Yeah,
kept us busy, always thinking and busy.
Yeah,
and you make a good point that they were characters. They really took time to. They looked at the Hasbro little cards and the personalities that have been developed on paper, and even if it was just like some of the smaller ones in the background, it's like, oh yeah, I could totally see Bone Crusher doing that. I could totally see that one. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and that comes a lot from the performances. Yourselves and your peers just again just a bang up job of getting life into them. And
that's a good point because with them being mechanical. Like if you see a character and it's an old man, well, you pretty much know what that is. But when you see, like Peter was saying, a van that transforms from this, it was a good challenge, and that's fun for actors. It's always fun to have a nice challenge, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I will always love Scatman Crothers, no matter what he does.
What a gem!
Wally, can I try that again, Wally? I've got a better idea. I got a better idea on this one. I'm gonna try that again, Wally. Wally, can I try that again one more time?
Oh, God bless him. What a wonderful man.
And he told us so many stories, right, Peter?
Yeah, just it's like yesterday.
And a lot of people didn't realize he started in a lot of African American cinema. During the heydays in the 40s and 50s, all those movies that were just literally shown in Harlem and other spots too, that Hollywood still hasn't really quite acknowledged. And then we found that. So yeah, absolutely. And Chris, of course, it's again so many great performers that aren't with us anymore. But absolutely a fun bunch. And Dylan, thank you. That was a great question to start us off with. What do we have next? Here's one from Colin. Oh, do you prefer playing heroes or villains?
Peter?
I prefer heroes. I played some pretty scary bad guys, and I don't like the association with kids. I was uncomfortable with kids when they asked me to do something scary.
Hey, would you do Danger for me?
And if there were 3 kids there, one of them would go like that, and I don't like scaring kids. I didn't like that at all.
You could do Venture for me anytime you want. Yeah. I promise not to cry.
No, I will not.
Oh my!
Gee whiz.
Udi, look out!
That's good.
Oh my gosh, I remember that one too. Yeah. Well, for me, I think it's great as actors to be able to have the opportunity to play both. And a lot of times, even in our business as voice actors, you wouldn't think it, but we do get typecast. And so one of my goals through my career is to be nimble enough so that they couldn't typecast me. But I do tend to end up doing a lot of dogs. But some are hero dogs and some are not hero dogs. But, it's nice to be able to do both. But I think Peter is right. It's nice to be able to be a hero.
And you both
I do enjoy a good transforming bad guy. There's just something fun about that.
Yeah.
And you both done Bad Monkeys.
Yes.
Bad Monkeys. Oh, that's classic.
Colin, thank you. That was a good one. Oh, yes, Parent.
A lot of these characters, were written to scare, and that's the way I interpreted it. But Frank's Megatron, that's evil, but he's intellectually evil in a sense,
Very much.
The Avenger was just bite your head off.
Avenger wanted to conquer his realm just because he was evil.
Yeah.
Megatron wanted to conquer, and you got the idea that he had a plan of what government he was going to run and everything else. Megatron was a dictator. He was a dictator more than a conqueror. Even right behind you, peace through tyranny. The quote for the character, and I think that showed too, and again in terms of his schemes and all that stuff. So, and Colin, thank you, great one. What do we have next? Here's one from Alex. Who is your inspiration growing up in life?
Peter?
Well, there are so many. It's hard to depict. I would have to say family first, because my mother and father and my older brother and sister were a main focal point in my life. I would have to say family. They were a tremendous influence, and of course, on the side of wanting to make them happy and at the same time wanting to impress them, like all children want to impress their parents. I worked really hard at that as a kid, and being the third kid and the shortest, I had to work real hard to, attract attention. Yeah.
You did good. He did very well. Very good.
Very well. Thank you, Frank. Yes. No, I thank my my life for my family. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to steal Peter's answer. I think that is first and fundamental. And I was the baby of my family, so I was doing the same thing Peter was doing. Look at me. And fortunately, I had two big brothers that have been nothing but inspirational. And so I would have to say family. And I had a couple of good teachers along the way. Mr. Mason was instrumental in helping me get through a lot of times in high school and gave me a lot of hall passes I didn't deserve. Really like that. But and football coach I really liked, and but I'd say the family, definitely.
Yeah. It always comes back to family and teachers, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think teachers can really make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Negatively and positively.
It was Teachers' Day yesterday.
Was it really?
I think so.
Oh. Well,
God bless all our teachers.
Indeed, absolutely. Thank you again for your service for our future. Yeah. And Alex, thank you. That was a great question. what do we have next? Oh, one from the same Alex or a different Alex? Oh, this might be a long one or a very short one. What made you guys get into voice acting?
Well,
Employment.
Yeah, that is the short version I was expecting.
Short version.
I came into voice acting really literally by mistake. I was working on stage at a local nightclub here in Los Angeles, and I was doing dog and cat sounds, and this fella from an advertising agency was casting a Friskies dog food commercial, and he said, "Hey, I want you to be in my commercial. First he said voiceover, and I thought, what is that? And is it legal?" And he said, it's a commercial for Frisky dog food. I don't want to bore you with the whole long story, but I went in and did that. And his fiance happened to work for the network, and she was casting a show called Scooby-Doo. She said, "You'd be great for this dog. Come in." And so I went in and auditioned and found out that there was this whole world of voiceovers, commercials, and animation. And slowly but surely kind of got into that field, and I was still doing stand-up comedy. But eventually the voices, I was doing so many and working so many sessions that it kind of took over everything. And then I really enjoyed it and found that was the area of least resistance in showbiz for me. I mean, I did movies and television shows as Peter did, but I found out that this was a job that I really enjoyed, and like I say, was the area of least resistance. So that's how I got going. Peter? And don't say you're stealing my answer, because I know you have a different answer.
I think, like most actors that do sounds and voices and impersonations, for that matter, they discover that at a very early age. I did, and I'm sure you did too, Frank.
Yeah.
It often got us into trouble, Frank as well, but in school especially. You find out when you're in grade school that you can make people laugh by duplicating a sound or somebody's voice or characteristics there. And that was my experience. And it garnered an awful lot of attention, everybody does something well in their life, or relatively achieve some success at. And I found out early, doing voices and doing sounds, it's something I love to do. I would catch myself doing it without thinking about it. It was like Dennis McBoing. Do you know what that character was? He could impersonate any sound in the world by just hearing it. A train would go by and he'd do the train. The train would stop So kids, that can draw that conclusion from their own personal experiences, really understand it. And I was lucky. And like a lot of people have said, if you do something that you love to do in your life, you'll never work a day. If you love doing what you do, you're lucky. Yeah.
Unless you do some of those video games, and that hurts. Because you have to scream, you have to die like 10 to 15 different ways.
Yeah.
That's a day you go to work.
Blood throat.
Yes. Yes. I remember Kevin Conroy, when I talked to him about doing the Arkham games, he was like, "It took me 5 hours to do an episode of Batman. It took me 9 months, 5 days a week to do the first Arkham game."
Yeah. They're intense.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And Alex, thank you. Very fun question. What is next? And here we go from Andre. What character would you say you have the most similarities with? And you can draw from any facet of your career on this one.
Well, I'm going to jump up on this one really quick and give you time to think, Peter, because you have so many wonderful characters. I have just a bunch of goofy stuff. But I will say that Fred Jones of the Scooby-Doo gang is probably the closest to me. I don't know if I really totally identify with him, but since it's basically my voice, just a little bit higher. Hey, would you do it for a Scooby snack? No. Would you do it for 2 Scooby snacks? No. Would you do it for 3 Scooby snacks? Yeah. And some Bitcoin. Bitcoin for a dog. Get it? Well, anyhow. But Fred, he likes traps. He gets confused easily, and he's, I think, a little challenged with the way he dresses and his ascot. That would be me. So I would say that I'm probably closest to Freddie Jones.
Fair.
That's great. I wish I could be that eloquent about it. I think we all have a little bit of us in all the characters we do. Not necessarily in that order. I don't mean the good qualities, let's put it that way. But I think we associate a lot with through our own understanding, and that's why the character comes out sometimes better than others. So I think that familiarity with the character traits that are good will explore your own character trait. And I think that goes pretty much to comfort. You feel comfortable with a character, and he comes out easier than others. And it's like acting, I think, on camera. You can always detect awkwardness and lack of control, or lack of confidence, or for that matter, lack of strength. You can always, or lack of sincerity, especially.
Yeah.
I think the familiarity about, I'm going on and on and on.
No, good.
Yes, very good, Peter. Yeah.
I totally understand it, sir.
We must confound Sherry at every opportunity.
Quite right. Yes. Ribbit.
Well, Peter, I will say, and Frank, I will say, based on our conversations, that Peter, to me, I identify you as Optimus.
Yeah,
when you talk about that and the care that you've taken with that character, and the way you respect the fans of the character as well too. I think you really there's great acting, and then there's always a seed that comes from inside every actor, a performer, that can't be acted. It's got to be natural.
That's so great that you said that, because it's absolutely 100% true. And Peter, more than anybody I know, actors, protects that character, believes in that character, and is that character.
Yeah.
And he will go to the mat if something is not right with something that Optimus has been written or supposed to do that doesn't meet that character standard.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility I have to my brother, because it's my brother Larry who is Optimus Prime, and my older brother was my inspiration for that character, continues to be even long after he's gone, to live up to that. He was a great man, a great Marine, a great leader.
And you have the photo behind you, correct?
True, I do. With
Paul, that's
a Marine Corps. His medals are in there, and he's with me all the time.
You have done him absolute honor and justice.
Well, thank you. It's quite an honor to do so.
Absolutely. And Frank, if I had to pick a character, I don't know why this makes me really left field, but if I had Nibbler from Futurama.
Yes.
I think that.
What are you saying?
Because you come under the radar, just have your little voice, and then it turns out you're a genius.
Yes, of
This
course. We're going to take over the world. Not just the universe. And then, of course, galaxy. But, he might meet up with Megatron at some point because they're both sort of want to control the entire galaxy and beyond. But Nibbler was a very interesting character. And literally, I think when we started, he was just supposed to have these little sounds. And then when he would eat something, it would be a huge sound. So he'd go. And then later on, of course, these are the greatest writers and love the whole group. They are just wonderfully crazy. They said, we need a voice for him. And we want something stentorian and what do you think? Well, I remember this newscaster in Los Angeles, and that's the news, and that's the way. So pretty soon that became Nibbler. We're going to take over the world. Not just. That's my story.
You're the best.
There you go. Yeah, it was either Nibbler or Herbie from the Fantastic Four, but he's a very polemic figure in comic fans. So we'll leave him.
Very good.
Why didn't they do the Human Torch? They don't want kids lighting them on fire.
Which actually was the urban legend, which wasn't true. The rights have been optioned up somewhere else. Anyway, Andre, great question. And a reminder to our audience, if you would like to get a personalized autograph from our guests, you can sign up at galaxycon.com. And let's go ahead and roll another one. And this comes from Rebecca. What do you consider to be your greatest achievement in your voice acting careers?
Well,
yeah.
I think being here right now is some result of a success of some kind or another, and I think that's what I'm grateful for. That's my greatest achievement, is to be in front of you, in front of all you guys, and with my compatriot, my fellow worker, who I adore and have respect for beyond words. And
thank you. I'm touched.
Yes. And you should. You should.
Thank you. Thank you. Really. Thank you.
Oh,
And how about this? How about this guy?
Well, for me, and I'm gonna again borrow Peter, because to have a fan base, which we didn't even know we had for years and years and years, and then to find out how rabid and wonderful they are. They follow us, they fight for us. It's just wonderful, and to have a following like that, that's an achievement. And then I got an Emmy, which I was told was because of my voice career, but actually I think it's what's called the Old Man Award, which is if you're in the business long enough and you can find your way home, then they give you an award. But what was really great about that Emmy was Peter. Peter gave me the introduction speech, and it was one of the most powerful, beautiful, maybe untrue, but fabulous speeches. And it brought me to tears, and it was just magnificent. And I felt like, wow, I want to meet me, because it was fabulous. So to me, that was an achievement, to have someone that I respect and adore, as Peter does, as we do each other, but to have that recognition, be handed the Emmy by Peter in that speech, that was the ultimate.
Megatron, I do not lie.
Well, we'll see if we can work on that. It just takes a little practice.
Thank you.
I'll take you to Washington. Whoa, there we are.
Keep going. What?
Yes.
You.
Oh, Rebecca, thank you. That was a wonderful question.
Really?
Got
Lost all my hair on that one. Boy, boy.
Oh, what do we have next? Here's one from Ombar. Hope I said that right. What do you consider to be your most challenging role outside of video games?
Well, I'm going to jump in with one. Well, it's still fresh in my mind because this was not one of my more famous roles, and I don't even remember the movie that this was from, but they asked me to do, this is a major motion picture. I mean, it wasn't major, but it was a motion picture in the theaters. And they asked me to do the sounds of a mouse underwater with a little helmet on. So it's like he was diving, they were using him as an experiment, and they dropped this mouse into the water with this little helmet on, and you could see he was not happy, but he was I can't really remember the role, but I thought that was a major role to try to achieve. Yeah.
Was it The Abyss?
No.
Okay, all right. Because there was a scene where they drop a mouse or a rat or something in some liquid and it breathes. That.
Oh.
No, I guess not.
So well, you know what?
It would have been in early mid '90s. So it might have been a while ago.
It might have been earlier than that, but that was one.
Yeah. How do you wrap your head around that? It's like a mouse breathing water. Okay, wow.
Good challenge, though.
Do my best. Do my best. All right. Hey, you got paid, right?
Oh yeah.
There you go. There you go. So
box the mouse food and a residual. So.
Okay. All right. Peter, how about you? What do you think was the most challenging one to pull off?
Well, working next to Frank Welker in a studio is probably one of the greatest challenges you could have. Frank has a penchant for making you laugh while you're about to perform, and he can do it at the drop of a hat. There's a little sound, a fly maybe, a drip from a faucet, whatever. I mean, hundreds of symbols that
you just have to get like Peter's number. Once you have his button, then you've got it. It's like he's in church or library. You can push that button, he's gonna laugh, and it's golden.
Yeah, you certainly do that. But that is a challenge, is to try to clear your mind, to where it was before the drip, or for the electric motor, or some kind of a sound that related to, the studio. Hook up and with that. Do we have to do this again, Frank? Yeah, that's a challenge. That is a challenge. And then blood throats. Blood throats are another challenge.
The screamers.
Yeah, the screamers. Yeah, like King Kong, he was a screamer. That was 11 reels. 11 reels of King Kong.
Yeah, as opposed to how many reels for the evil monkey in Indiana Jones? About 2.
Well, most of his were kind of subtle. It wasn't, it was mostly that Peach and Monkey. So it was but the mice screamers that Peter was alluding to were in Species, I remember. And the director was great. But I mean, in those days, we worked 8 hours in in the studio, and I was by myself. So I did her when she's burned up and when the
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So you go from the nice, fun kind of creating the egg sounds on the train.
Mhm.
To the screaming sounds of oh yeah. Those are
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
they're fun.
Absolutely.
They're not fun physically, but they're fun challenges.
And
Yeah.
Gremlins. Did you do a lot of Gremlins?
Yes.
I did a couple. I did. What's happening? You know, what's happening?
Yeah.
There-
Yeah.
But some of the voices that went in there were right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Bye, Sal. Bye, Sal. Bye, bye, bye. Sal, Sal, Sal. Yeah.
Yes.
Omar, thank you. I'll tell you what, I think we have time for one quick one. So let's see if we can close out a really fast, fun one. Oh, okay. Here's one from Matthew. Do you own any Transformers toys?
Peter, remember this from this question, and I had said that I had Transformers, my gun, and Megatron turns into the gun from
Man from Uncle.
Yeah, that was like the earliest toy, I think, and I said, I feel horrible because I didn't, and I lost it, and the kid next door could do it quickly, and I couldn't do it at all, but I never had that. Well, this summer during COVID, while we're cleaning, I cleaned up my attic, and guess what I found? Got that Transformer, and I'm so happy I've got it. So Megatron as the P-35.
Nice.
P-38.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
I have an extensive array of Transformers toys. A lot of them I've received from dear fans, and not only Transformers but other, Eeyore.
These are mine, by the way. I'm not giving them to you.
But I have my original in the that the kids got into back in the early 80s. You can't recognize it now. I mean, there were so many little hands that got a hold of it, but I treasure it. I keep it among newer ones. But with my grandchildren now, they've gone through so many the generous gifts coming from Hasbro, and it's just you don't have to go shopping anymore. For your kids,
True.
clothes from Hasbro and toys from Hasbro, and God bless Hasbro. They're wonderful, generous, wonderful people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Matthew, thank you so much. That was a great question. And GalaxyCon viewers, this has been my time with the voices of the Transformers, but it absolutely does not have to be yours. If you would like to get a personalized autograph from our guests, please sign up at galaxycon.com. And while you're there, please check out our schedule of upcoming events just like this one. Peter, Frank, once again, this has been an absolute delight. Any final words for our audience before we go backstage?
Love you, man. Love you guys. Love you.
Stay well, stay happy, and don't be afraid to transform.
Yeah. Never give up. Never give in. Roll out.
GalaxyCon viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your great questions. I hope to see you all again soon. Until then, bye-bye, everyone. Take care, and please keep washing those hands.